Hello, everyone. As an artist, I have always believed it's important to look beyond one's own culture. I have worked in many countries across the world, as well as in Japan. The environment and culture of Scotland in particular have been an important influence on the evolution of my artistic style and temperament. Let's look at images. Here are some images of my recent small pieces. I'm mostly working with stone, particularly black granite and basalt. Before I start talking about Scotland, I have to introduce my unique artistic beginnings, deeply involved in the International Stone Sculpture Symposium movement. A sculpture symposium is not a conference or an academic symposium. It's an opportunity to create actual work, sharing working situation while living together for about 2 months. Sculpture Symposium was a distinctive art movement evolving in post-war Europe from the 1960s to 80s. It was started in 1958 by Austrian sculptor Karl Prantl in St. Margarethen. Prantl called sculptor friends to leave the safe isolation of their own sacred studio spaces to gather in the stone quarry where, with ample material immediately to hand in order to work and spend time together, talk about art in a spirit of peace and collaboration and inspire each other. I first experienced Sculpture Symposium in 1978 when I went to university to study art. One of my lecturers, Hidekazu Yokozawa, was organizing Suwako International Sculpture Symposium, which was the first artist collaboration symposium for a public park in Japan. He invited me to join as an assistant. Then in 1981, the year I graduated university, Yokozawa invited me to join his second symposium in Hagi, which was again a project for a public park made in collaboration with all participating stone sculptors together with Hagi ceramic artists. In Suwako and then again in Hagi, I worked with Professor Matthias Hitz, who had established Symposium Lindebrunn in Austria. In 1982, Matthias Hitz invited me to be an assistant director at Symposium Lindebrunn to help him run artist collaborative symposiums across Europe in order to create a new philosophy and style of sculptures for public parks. In 1983, Symposium Lindebrunn was invited to speak at the Yorkshire Sculpture Park Conference. Matthias Hitz chose me to represent them and thus gave me the opportunity to visit the UK for the first time. After the conference, I joined the Scottish Art Tour organized by Barbara Grigor of the Scottish Sculpture Trust. I was simply impressed by the beauty and energy of Scottish natural landscape and the kindness of Scottish people. I met Fred Bush, the founder of the director of the Scottish Sculpture Workshop at the Yorkshire Conference in 1983 and visited SSW on the tour afterwards. SSW was already well equipped to produce work in metal and wood, but had nothing for stone yet, even though Aberdeen granite is one of the most wonderful and durable material for the sculpture. I was excited that I found the place at SSW fascinating, so I decided to spend some time in Scotland. In summer, I worked in Europe project and drove my motorcycle to Scotland for the winter, booking myself in at the Scottish Sculpture Workshop in Aberdeenshire. Fred wanted my help setting up stone carving facilities there, which I did, and working in stone became a main attraction of SSW for many sculptors from around the world for years. The Scottish Sculpture Trust invited me to submit work for Coatbridge Sculpture Park. So, 21st June 1983, the first sculpture I made at SSW was designed to go there. But Fred Bush suggested I first exhibit in the Scottish Sculpture Open 3, a Biennale outdoor exhibition at Kildare Castle. This sculpture then started touring England and then moved to Cramon Sculpture Park in Edinburgh, where it stayed for a long time. It finally found its home next to the beautiful lake as part of University of Sterling Art Collection. It never got to Coatbridge. I loved having mental and physical space to develop my sculpture ideas at SSW. So I started spending winters there every year, driving back to Austria to work on public projects in the spring. I very much enjoyed sharing time with other young sculptors there at SSW. Tangible results of the strong friendship that evolved included the idea to establish Glasgow Sculpture Studio together in 1988 and meeting my future wife, Kate Thompson. The first public project of Glasgow Sculpture Studio was also the first sculpture symposium in Scotland, the College and Sandstone project in Glasgow, which I acted as technical director for. I also started drawing at SSW as part of media, as part of my essential expressions. In Japan, artists are expected to specialize in one medium with a strong focus on craftsmanship. So most Japanese people, creators, critics, and art agents defines me as a stone sculptor. In Europe and Scotland, I was delighted to find that an artist is much more free to express themselves in whatever medium suits what you want to say or explore. I felt liberated from rigid expectation to stay in the box others put me in, drawing for its own sake, not just as sketches for sculpture or proposal presentations, became an important part of my life and work. Free from the gravity that has such an impact on heavy stone sculpture, I could let my imagination and desires flow. I started making sculptures combining metal with stone at SSW, influenced by watching other people working there with different media. In the 80s and 90s, metal was one of the main materials for sculpture in the UK. From 1988, I started going back to Japan again for large public commissions with Kate Thompson. In 1991, we married and established Ukishima Sculpture Studio in Iwate, Northeast Japan, where unlike the usual Japanese scenery of rice paddies, the open green fields are a lot more like the Scottish landscape. In the 1990s, we worked on several large-scale outdoor public projects from this new studio base in Japan. We particularly try to share the experience and create opportunities for international collaboration by inviting artists from abroad, whenever we can. As part of the Japan 2001 festival in the UK, thanks largely to support from Chris Fremantle, the new director of SSW, I had a touring solo exhibition at Cambridge University and Peacock Visual Art in Aberdeen, with the residency back at SSW to create new work for it. I made Nostalgia with a warimodoshi technique, splitting one block of Scottish red granite into over 40 pieces. Once the stone is split, the action is irreversible. But if the pieces are fit perfectly back where they used to be, it is as if it is one piece again, except I cut and polished the inside of the block into irregular sphere to play with the character of the natural stone, a vessel to contain and remember human memories and expectations. It looks as if all is as it used to be, yet there is a certain difference, something formed in. It is up to the viewer to explore their own emotions and memories to find if they desire to go back in time or are content with the way things grow and change over time. For my show at Peacock, I took the inside sphere out of the main block. every time the venue changed, I wanted to play with how nostalgia resonated with atmosphere and context of the space. I was lucky to have the opportunity to do this in several Scottish venues with distinctive character and history, such as in 2009 when Kate and I were invited by the Scottish Gallery to join the show at neoclassical Mellaston House in Warwickshire. In 2012, it took on yet another manifestation when it joined 21st June 1983 at the University of Stirling Art Collection. They created the Japanese art trail with 14 works by me and 4 by Kate, which are still on permanent display there. This includes work spanning the 4 decades of my relationship with Scotland and has become a sort of journal for me of the evolving influence of Scottish culture on my work. I still find contact with the culture and people of Scotland refreshing. So I have continued to work and exhibit in Scotland, and in 2007, Kate and I established the second Kishima studio base in Edinburgh. In 2009, Lorna Hepburn, the National Trust for Scotland, curator of Hill House in Helensburgh, made it possible for Kate and I to show work in this wonderful Charles Rennie Mackintosh masterpiece. Wanting to honor the environment he created, I started my new Streamline series inspired by Mackintosh, drawing on the flowing simple lines of Japanese ukiyo-e style and the dynamic yet graceful movement in the early 20th century modern design movement. The shape in my Streamline series, also influenced by my family's history of tuna fishing business in Kesennuma. As a child, I used to watch our fishing ships leaving port into the Pacific Ocean. In 2011, my hometown, like so many others, was completely wiped away by the 80-meter high tsunami. I can never forget that what I saw when I got back there a few weeks after the disaster. Nothing was there, nothing left. I lost the vital compass for my memories. Memories that doesn't relate, reality will become a ghost. I felt urgently that as an artist, I had to start working to fill the void left behind by catastrophic loss. Yet I also felt that there is a limit for such expression in the stone that I normally use. What should I do? I started some new versions of my ships in stone, but it wasn't enough. I needed to find a new idea to express new feelings, new emotions. In 2014, I was back at SSW watching other artists working. I suddenly wondered, what about trying to combine metal, casting, and stone? Previously, I made works of welded iron and stone, but how about trying to pour molten metal directly into stone? With the guidance of my friend George Beasley, one of the few iron casting masters of our time, and the help of Kate Thompson, I began casting iron into granite. The granite, screaming under the shattering energy of the red-hot iron, expresses the incredible power nature can unleash. What is left or replaced can never be the same as it was before. This is the concept of my Ghost Memory and Requiem series. In 2016, I challenged this idea for a larger piece, focusing also on need for sustainable balance. The iron is recycled from old cast iron bars and car parts. The stone swallowed up SSW's supply of old bars. So Sandy Dalgano of Overton Garage came to the rescue, donating old cast iron car parts, while Alan Bruce of 5 Grand Rock generously produced provided Scottish granite. Both of them became enthusiastic key members of the project. Okay, here we go. Split the block into pieces. Smaller and smaller. Then put them back together. This is Warimodoshi technique. And take some parts out. Prepare the mold. And at last, pour iron into it. This piece is still in progress. I will go back to SSW and complete it after this pandemic confusion is over. I'm looking forward to developing this idea further. I am always so grateful to Scotland and her people, all the inspirations that has nurtured me for new ideas and the space to develop them, and the willingness of local people as well as artists to welcome me and try to help realize sometimes crazy ideas, all with a great sense of enthusiasm, determination, and great fun. I love Scotland. Thank you.